Hi, good morning, everyone. How's it going? I kind of rushed here today. Um, I had an appointment scheduled that I scheduled a year ago um, and didn't want to cancel. So, yeah, kind of running late. But I see a couple people on here. Maybe we'll get more. Um, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start. And hopefully the stream will hold up today because it's been kind of finicky lately and I've done everything I can except for get a new laptop. And I'm hoping to avoid that, so we'll see. But what we're going to do today is I am going to do something real quick today. I'm just going to do a self-portrait. And, because I do one of these every day, and I'm going to do something quick today. So I've got my mirror. I'm going to set this up over here. And I'm going to work with fluid paints today. And yeah. Are people there? I'm curious. I hope. Let me know if you're there. Let me know if this stream is working. I'm seeing a couple people. I'm not getting any notifications that it cut out, so hopefully we're all good. Yeah, I wish I could pause this, but I can't. I'm just going to keep going. We'll see what happens. If worst comes to worst, I'll just record this and post it later. All right, so I'm going to do a self-portrait, and I'm going to use different products, different acrylic and mixed media products. So if you want to follow along, grab a mirror. I am going to be working on watercolor paper here. So hopefully you'll be able to see that. And I'm going to work with some products like glazing fluid. I'm going to work with some rubbing alcohol. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol. I've got a water spray bottle I might use. The other thing I thought would be fun is if I use my cards. These are my prompt cards. So basically, they give little prompts, little creative prompts. And I thought I would pull one or two of these as we're going today. Yay, Alice. I'm so glad you found me. I want to just say hi because all of a sudden I see like 7 people on here. Hi. Thanks for coming on. I hope the stream doesn't cut out. I'm going to do this pretty quickly today. And hopefully the stream doesn't cut out. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for joining. And if it does cut out, just come back to the channel. In the future, I'll do a continuation video, or, if you can find me, you can find me. Hey, Jamie. So good to see everyone. Thank you for showing up. I know I'm starting this half an hour late, but had to do it. Okay, so let's get started. I've got with me I've got some acrylic paints. I've got my palette over here. I'm also going to be working with some fluid paints today. I'm running a little low, unfortunately, but I'm going to work with those. I'm going to play with my friend's walnut ink. I've got a container of water, like I said earlier, isopropyl alcohol. And then I have my little prompt cards here. And these are just to give creative prompts. So let's go ahead and let's start. I wanted to show you, first of all, actually, since this is going to be my portrait for the day, I'll put the date on here. Today's the 15th. What time is it? 11:33 is what my computer's saying. Okay, so I wanted to show you, first of all, before I even get into the portrait, hopefully y'all can see this. I want to show you a fun thing you can do with isopropyl alcohol. So I'm just working with a regular ballpoint pen. I'm not beginning to draw my image or anything, but I wanted to show you something really fun. If you take your alcohol here and spray it on, it makes the ink bleed, and I did a little test over here. Some papers, this will work better than others. I'm working today on this watercolor paper. It's pretty coarse. You can see how that, it makes your pen bleed. And actually it will bleed through to the other side. And sometimes the other side is like even more cool. This is a block, so it's all kind of pasted down. So I'm not gonna lift it up. But if you try this at home with isopropyl alcohol, it's really fun to see the effects. You might have like some wipes or something like hand sanitizer. You could try using that because that has isopropyl alcohol in it. So if you have something like that, you know, just try it. See about like wiping it across the page or something if you can. But yeah, you get this really cool effect with it. And then when you paint on top of this, I'm going to just take brush and I'm just mixing up a random color here. I just want to show you when you paint on this, it gives this really interesting quality to your paint. It makes it kind of break up in this interesting way. You see how that's not normal. Usually, you know, when you work with paint, you get a pretty solid brush stroke like that. And this is what happens with the alcohol. It makes your paint kind of like coagulate. You can play around with spraying it and getting these interesting effects with it. So I just thought it'd be fun to maybe play around with that to start with and just show you that, because I thought I would draw my portrait today with some of the, with ballpoint pen. I do want to try something with this walnut ink that my friend gave me before I get into the drawing. Another fun thing you can do is you can take some water on a brush and draw with it. I like to get it really wet. And then take your fluid, your high flow acrylic ink, and drop that into the water. Ooh, do I have any here? And depending on your paper, it should follow that line of water. I need a little more water here. I guess because this is watercolor paper, maybe it soaks it up a little more. But yeah, you can make these really cool like patterns and just paint with water and then drop some of that fluid material into it. So I think that that's really fun. I love working really fluidly like this. So I have my paper on a little bit of an angle so you can see it a little better. So I'm just playing around right now before I get into even doing the image of me on here, my self-portrait. I want to try this with the with the walnut ink. I want to see if that works. And I know you probably don't have walnut ink, but I'm just curious. This is something that my friend made me. And I know there's a little bit of alcohol, or I think there's a little alcohol in it. I want to see how it works. It seems to be working really well. Pretty cool. I love this color also. If you have an applicator like this, it's really fun to work with these inks. Let me show you what I'm dealing with. This is Liquitex acrylic ink. And this has that kind of applicator. So you can just drip it right on. And then the other product is the golden high flow acrylics. And this has the bottle applicator, which is fun as well. The thing about these acrylic inks, these high flow acrylic inks, is they're really pigmented. They're really well pigmented. They were originally used for airbrushing. I mean, that's what they're used for, but someone figured out you could paint with them too. So it's very similar to working with watercolors, except they won't re-bleed, I guess, for lack of a better term. Once this dries, it's stuck here. Hi, Lisa. You know, I just started at 11:30, so I'm just demonstrating high flow acrylics and fun things you can do working more fluidly with the paint. And I'm gonna do a quick self-portrait. And let's go ahead and pick one of these cards, one of my cards, my wild cards. Oops, one of them got wet. By the way, okay, so add a collage element. So that could be, I mean, you know, I have some washi tape here. Washi tape is decorative tape, kind of like masking tape. And this could be considered a collage element, or you could grab some decorative paper, tissue paper, even glitter could be considered a collage element. I'm gonna just put this right here. Masking tape is something fun you can play with, painting over and then lifting it off later. And I'm going to add another pattern on here. Let's see. I've got this tissue paper with these fun dots. Kind of like this. I want to put a little bit of this in there. So to adhere this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of this acrylic glazing fluid just to, since this isn't too heavy, I don't need like full on acrylic gel medium or anything. So I'm going to brush some of that down and then stick my collage piece into that. And I just love, like, with tissue paper, it's transparent. So you'll see a little bit of that design coming through underneath. I kind of want to do a little bit more, so. And yeah, when I work with these fluid materials and collage materials, I just like to layer them. I think that's a really fun way to work with them. Next week, we're going to work with mixed media, creating a family portrait of some sort or a group portrait, whatever you prefer. And we'll be working with papers and paint in the same way. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start drawing my portrait. I have a mirror set up over here, and this is going to come out backwards for you. I'm going to use a permanent marker here, but also I'll probably interchange it with my ballpoint pen. Let's see. If this might not be very dark, actually. Yeah, it's not. I'm gonna work with my ballpoint pen for a minute. Ooh, it's not working. What happens is sometimes your drawing materials can get like paint stuck on them that dries them up. So you got to kind of scribble with them till you can get that paint off of them. The acrylic paint will get on there and then it will mess up the way your drawing tool works. I'm kind of doing a real scribbly thing here. Because I can't really see my mark very well. In fact, I think I'm gonna change tools. See if this works a little better. Yeah. So leave it up to you how you want to draw yourself. You could be working with a paintbrush right now if you want. You could be working from a photograph or from life. I'm just going to work from life. I have to decide if I want to make my mouth open or closed here. I'm going to grab another card just to see if it could work. Pattern in room or on clothing. I'll be thinking about that. Maybe I'll add that too. I'll put my shirt pattern in here. I hope you all are working on some kind of portrait. So I'm doing like a 3/4 view, and instead of straight on, I'm doing an angled, slightly angled pose. And when that happens, the side of your face that's closer to the mirror, you would see more of. And the other side, you would see slightly less of. The side that's angled away, you would see slightly less of. All right, I can't draw it there, so. All right, well, I used my ballpoint pen because I wanted to put some of the alcohol on it and make it bleed a little bit. So you can kind of see that now. And I'm going to work with some paint over it because I want to go for that that weird kind of coagulated effect I was showing earlier. You can see the paint kind of bunches up when you paint on top of the alcohol. And if you don't have 91%, you can just try regular rubbing alcohol and see what it does. And if you don't have that, like I said before, if you have like sanitizing wipes or something, you could try those because they have the alcohol in it. I know it's for a while there, it was kind of hard to find the isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to come up here and paint in a little bit of my hair. But I think I'm going to leave a lot of this stuff because I really like these other marks. So. And for me, when I do these daily self-portraits, so much of it is about the process of it more than the final product. So I just really enjoy using the materials, experimenting with them. I don't worry about things looking pretty necessarily or totally representational. It's more about my mood, like if I'm impatient or something, which I tend to be a little more lately. Okay. And I'm going to still work quite fluidly with the paint. I think you all know I love using my pastels. I'm going to use a little bit here, I think in the cheeks. And I'm going to blend it with my acrylic glazing fluid. So put a little bit of that on there and blend those marks with my brush. And that serves the purpose of it adheres it to the page also. Okay, so since this is fairly dark, I'm going to start putting some highlights on there to lighten up some areas. So I'm taking some yellow and white and a little of this quinacridone red. And I'm going to paint on top of that now. So when I paint myself wearing glasses, I will start by drawing in the glasses and then they kind of disappear as I'm making the painting. So, right now they're sort of disappearing, but I'll go back later and pull them back out. I'll emphasize them again. So I'll go in with dark paint later and pull out some of that detail of the glasses. So they will disappear for a little while. All right, so I went a little bit lighter on top of that, and I'm going to go back in it with dark colors. I'm going to see what my black charcoal does, or it's actually, I think this is actually a pastel, but you could use the charcoal too. Just going around where I see some of the darker parts. I'm One of the hardest things about painting glasses, if you are doing that, is making them not just look like a frame, like an outline on your face, but really trying to give the glasses themselves some kind of dimension, whether that means putting a highlight on them. Sometimes they cast a little shadow on the face that you could try to put in. But you want to try to give your glasses some form. So a lot of times we just put the frame on there and kind of neglect the whole form, the shape, the weight of the glasses, even maybe the reflection that you see in um, the lenses of the glasses. So with mine, there's a little bit of a reflection on the actual frames. I notice a lot of times when I'm doing a self portrait and like these little quick daily portraits that I do, but even a lot of times for just regular paintings that I make, I like to create a problem for myself. So maybe kind of uh, muck up the paper a little bit and then pull the form out of it rather than trying to keep it like perfect from step one until the end. Um, Sometimes that having that problem of trying to like clean something up or paint over something, or I don't know, sometimes having like a challenge like that can also yield an interesting painting. So I just say that for those of you that might be concerned with like making the painting perfect from start to finish, you can make it kind of, I don't know, it can be kind of exciting to sort of lose control of it for a while and then try to like wrangle it back. Usually, the bottom lip of a portrait will have a little more light cast onto it. So, usually, it's painted with a highlight. Um, I mean, that's when you have just pretty basic general lighting. The top lip will have more of a shadow cast on it, so it might be painted a little bit darker. And of course, that's not always the case, but 9 times out of 10, that is the case. There's always a little highlight on the eyeball or the pupil there. Um, And if you just dab a little white mark into your paint, generally that's enough. Another important thing is to try to get it's really hard and I'm always kind of struggling with it, but try to get again, usually if you have just regular light, your nose will cast a little bit of a shadow onto your face, and you want to try to get that. And that will help the nose look like it's popping out of your face a little bit. So you want to get that shadow. It can be really challenging because if if you go too heavy with it, you'll look like you know it will look funny. It will look like a mustache or something. Um, so just be aware of that. Another thing is trying to get like the ball of the nose, the roundness of the nose that's sticking out. I may have went overkill with that. And just trying to get some of those shadows around the nose that indicate that there's dimension there. It can be really scary because it can make your all of a sudden make your painting look uh, really intense, but that's how you make your nose look a little more dimensional is to try to get those shadows around it and then the highlights on the bridge of it. And I just say that, but I struggle with it a lot in my paintings as well. I struggle a lot with the space between the nose and the top lip also. There's usually a little bit of a highlight on the very top lip. I mean, it depends. You might be wearing lipstick or something and you don't see that, but there's usually a little bit of a highlight at the very top of the top lip. Okay. I'll look at this the normal way. I made my ear a little too high over here. Also getting the shadow of that's underneath your chin, like the shadow that the bottom of your face casts down onto your neck. That's a really important one to get also. Generally, the neck will be painted in cooler tones, so not such like hot um, reds or highlights that you're using in your face. You might not use those in the neck area. I'm going to let this chill out for a minute and I'm going to go into I'm going to pick another card. Use non-dominant hand, finger painting. So I'm going over my time. I was going to just go till noon, but I think I am going to just take my hand here and my non-dominant hand and work a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about being careful with how with getting the paint on your hands. Like, don't soak in the paint when you're finger painting with acrylic paint. I've seen different things about that, but I generally try not to use my fingers too much. Um, and yeah, if it gets messy, no prob. A lot of times, also, you'll notice when your painting dries, it changes a lot. I'm gonna pick another one. I don't want to use that one. Trace a drip or stain or brush stroke. So that's a really fun thing. I'm gonna go back with my. This is a marker that bleeds a lot, and I'm just gonna go back up into one of these things here and trace. It's really fun to do this. This would make its own really cool abstract art piece, just tracing your drips and your marks. And since I'm using I used a marker that's very, that will bleed a lot, I can just add a little bit of water to that. If you have watercolor markers, they'll serve the same function. It's great. They're really fun to use, uh, water-based markers, because you can just let them bleed like this. So you could be doing this in your actual portrait if you want. Mine is still a little too wet. I want to put a little more pink in my face. So I'm taking my quinacridone again and trying to get some of that. It's real messy. And then something I love to do, I like to take my blob of white paint with all its weird little colors in there and just mix it all together and use that color. In this case, it's a nice, just sort of a neutral tint. And you might use that in your actual portrait. This would also be a good color to kind of paint around some things, paint out some things. Obliterate some things with it. Put a little green in mine. And again, it's always just a process of going back and forth with the lights and the darks. And like I said before, sometimes if you just let your painting sit for a while and it dries, you'll notice that the colors shift. Because acrylic paints get more transparent as they dry. So whatever's underneath them comes through a little bit more. All right, I think I'm gonna stop mine at this point since we're past noon, but I will turn it around. Sort of funny. I'm gonna have to go back in and do the glasses. It's just a little bit dark right now. But I kind of like just the chaotic feeling that's coming up here. Um, Actually, I'm going to try to do this upside down and see about looking at the camera while I do it. That could be kind of interesting. There. And all right. Well, this was fun. Thanks for coming and joining me today. I wasn't sure if people would come since it's a little late, but I appreciate you all showing up. I hope you learned something today about your materials, and um, feel free to give a thumbs up to this video if you liked it, and tell your friends, subscribe, all that stuff. It's really interesting to do this upside down, looking in the camera. And I'm looking in the um, mirror as well. I kind of feel like the nose should still pop out a little more. So I'm going to do a highlight on there. Oops. A little better. Thanks, Jamie. Well, I would love to see whatever you all come up with. Feel free to share it with me. Thanks for hanging out today. This was really fun. Thank you, Daphne. All right, so I'll be back next Monday at 11. Thank you, Paulette. Thanks for coming. I hope you had fun. I will be back next Monday. So have a wonderful week, everyone, and I'll see you then. Bye.